Hi guys. It's been a little bit since we've had a little chat, and I thought maybe it was time to talk. Really, I thought I just finally had the time that I could record our little chat. I guess I should apologize for the lion mane on my head. It's just been like 180 to 100% humidity for the last 3 weeks, and I've given up until fall approaches on trying to make this look at all acceptable, and I've been a little busy, so the bags under the eyes are intense lately, so I apologize. It's going to be a little bit of a I look like a hot mess chat, but it's still a chat nonetheless. But so I've had some clients recently, and a few clients and a personal friend or two that the same topic has come up, and it has been about self discipline. And the way that it came up was because these are all people that are fully aware that they're on a spiritual journey, and at least most of them have, kind of fully made it through the other side of their dark night of the soul. And, they're not super newbies. They kind of understand the philosophies, the concepts, although, we're human, we may not implement them perfectly. They're people that are well on their way to proceeding in their journey, not just discovering that they're on one, right? So, one thing that we had been talking about is a lot of people seem to feel very overwhelmed, and people that I'm just talking about that know there's more to life than just getting up, working, paying the bills, coming home, cooking dinner and all that. So these people have been incredibly overwhelmed and stressed and feeling heavy lately. And I've just it's been a recurring theme of people reaching out to me feeling that way. And it made me start to reflect on the time in my life when I felt that way. And I mean, we all have a day or so where we feel that way, but I had a good, you know, 6, 8 months that I felt that way consistently. And that's what these people were describing as well. So when I get synchronistic, is that the right way to say that? When I get the same message, the same statements to me over and over in a span of time from clients and people and from all sources coming to me at once, it makes me, everything's a mirror. So I start reflecting back on, okay, what is this teaching you about yourself? Or because you are supposed to, be a teacher or be this or that, what can you reflect back on your journey to aid in helping and teaching other people? And so I realized this thing, and I did it, and everybody that I have explained this to after I realized I did it have said, oh my God, that's totally what I'm doing. So what it is, I don't know if I even started this by telling what we're talking about. Self-discipline is a must for self-care. So what happens is, right, we realize, we awaken, and we realize we're on a spiritual journey, and we're like, fuck, the life we've led up till now hits us really hard, and we've realized how shut down we've been, and the life we've led has been, and the people around us are, and that dark night of the soul becomes a time where we're really reflective, and we allow ourselves to have our emotions and escape to our emotions and feel into things and be things, right? And we don't want to put a lot of pressure on ourselves, because this is a birthing a baby bird. Why that thought just came to me, I don't know, but this is us birthing our own inner baby bird. Didn't know I had one of those, but now I know. And we want to be gentle and compassionate with ourselves, and we don't want to push us, because we want to work through that healing and see what we're feeling is teaching us, and where we need to heal and what we need to let go. And it's supposed to be this, and the dark night of the soul is very intense, and it can be very painful, but it's this time that's designed for us to be compassionate and peaceful and lackadaisical with ourselves and pushing ourselves, because we pushed ourselves so far up to that point where it broke, and the dark night of the soul happened, and that's wonderful, and that's exactly what we're supposed to do. And then what I did, and what I've noticed everybody else that I've talked to this about did too, is we start working our way towards the back end, the other end, the other side of that dark night of the soul, right? We're coming out of it. We've shed our facade. We're beginning to start being the true us and figuring out who that is and engaging in the world. And then what happens is we extend the level of compassion that the extreme level of compassion that we've had during this dark night of the soul onward. And it comes to this point where we have then been so compassionate with ourselves and so gentle with ourselves that it's almost like a form of atrophy, like muscle atrophy. Like if you don't use a muscle, it will become weak and it will become almost unable to be used. You have to, build muscle and continue to use it for it to be functional. And that's what happens is we we allow everything to flow through our dark night of the soul for this healing, and we don't push ourselves to relive anything or to, we don't want to push ourselves to get over it because we're not supposed to during that time. But then we're unlearning behavior during the dark night of the soul of we're unlearning to where you have to get up and you have to do the 9 to 5 every day and you have to do this and you have to do what society says. So we're unlearning all of that, pushing ourselves. But then we go to the other extreme, where as we're coming out of this dark night of the soul, we've had to learn and reprogram ourselves to be so compassionate with ourselves that now from this new place, we have no idea how to handle anything because we're not the same person that we were, right? So we don't handle it that way. We're also not the person that we're becoming. So we don't yet know how to handle it that way. And then we're left in this, okay, I just spent however long my dark night of the soul was, 6 months, a year, 5 years, whatever. We've just spent that long trying and reprogramming ourselves to allow ourselves to feel and feel situations and embrace energies. And now we can't leave the house without being bombarded and feeling everything. And now every decision gives us anxiety and we don't know what to do because, again, we're not that person yet, but we're not that person anymore, but we're not this person yet. And it becomes this whole clusterfuck of being stuck in the middle and having emotional and intellectual atrophy from not forcing us to make decisions and reprogramming ourselves and being compassionate with ourselves. That then on the other side of our dark night of the soul, it's almost like we don't even know how to people anymore. And this is where so much of this dark night of the soul is fully about self-care, right? Going deep within, getting into that shadow work, healing ourselves, working with ourselves, and doing all that self-care. And then towards the end of that dark night of soul, on the other side of it is where our self-care, our journey changes then, and so does our type of self-care. And it is very important at that point to exercise self-discipline. It's something that I still have to argue, be stern with myself about is self-discipline because, when they eliminated my position with the government and I started working for myself, I would have never left there because it wasn't the logical or the safe thing to do. But the universe is like, nah, you need to go. So they eliminated the position, started outsourcing. So I didn't have my 9 to 5 anymore. And I was so happy for it because it was something that I would have never left, but I was miserable there. So then I allowed myself to become too lackadaisical with schedules and too unable to show up on time, or anything I would plan, I would then either have to change it 100 times or, reschedule or be late. And it was like, okay, I get that you're still reeling from having to conform to these expectations for so long, but now you can't even function as an adult, Heather. And that's me talking to myself. Because I promise you, if anybody's offended by what I say or how blunt I am, I'm a million times more blunt to myself. I don't know if that makes it okay, but it is what it is. I would never say anything to you that I wouldn't say to myself. Sometimes we need that realism. But so that's what happened is I started, I was so worn out from the show, the life that I was acting. And I should have brought a drink with me. And I went so far to the other end of the spectrum to where I couldn't even really adult anymore. And that's probably not a good thing when you're starting and running 2 businesses, because this was 4-5 years ago when I lost that position. Well, they eliminated that position. I think. It's 2021. I think it was 2016. Yeah, because it was the year my grandfather died, so it was 2016. Yeah, 5 years ago. So you still can't math like I should. Not disciplined with learning my mathing. But no, I still do it. Like I went so far because I was so tired of living under somebody else's rules and regulations that like it was just this built up resentment inside of me that if somebody wanted to schedule an appointment, like I almost just wouldn't make it because I was like, no, I don't have to. I don't have to report at 7 o'clock to work every morning and be there till 5, even though I could do everything that I needed to do from home. But I have to be in that desk in that office with those people in that building with all of it because they just said I had to for no real reason. And it was just like I couldn't get anything done. I couldn't adult. I was trying to renovate apartments and everything was just so overwhelming and it was just so heavy and I was so tired all the time because it was just everything made me feel like it was so much. And it's because I didn't, as much as I needed that time to heal, I let myself go too far. And I needed to experience it, but I also needed to reel myself in and I needed that self-discipline with, okay, you understand that you were meant to leave that position. You weren't going to actively choose it, so the universe did it for you. Fair enough. You also know that, okay, obviously you got a severance package, so you're okay for a few months, but you can't just take a nap on the couch for the rest of your life. So you need to do something. And there's absolutely no way that you can not at all function as an adult and run 2 successful businesses while working with other people and other aspects and doing all this. You can't. And I had to really reel myself in and realize that I am in control of what energy I feel when I go out of this house 90% of the time. If we are highly empathic, it may be hard sometimes. We'll all have a bad day. That's understandable. But 90% of the time, I can control what energy I allow to penetrate the vortex that is a heather. I do have the ability to make an appointment and keep it. I got up before my alarm every day for 15 years. I can still set an alarm and get up, and I know how to get ready and be where I need to be. And I'm a fully functioning adult that can do that. And just because I was resentful for doing it for somebody else for so long doesn't mean I shouldn't do it for myself, because that's actually the reverse of self-care. That's self-sabotage. And pushing ourselves to do things the right way for ourselves. I understand when you have to take a break because you're sick of doing it for somebody else or for outside expectations. But self-care is self-discipline in making sure you are doing what you need to do for yourself. Like, I've gained some weight, right? I need to reel in my discipline. And it's not because of what anybody else could say. Like, I can see myself now. I look in the mirror when I did my makeup and attempted to do my hair. Like, I know who I am. I know it doesn't define me. I don't care what anybody else says about it. It's not healthy. I need to do it. I need to be more disciplined. Although, like, I do have some metabolism issues. The doctor wants me to take medication. No, not going to do it. Not getting into that whole thing right now. But so even more so, excuse me, I need to be more disciplined and be more mindful and exercise more self-discipline and self-control, which is self-care, which is the self-care that I need to engage in now, because that is what's best for me. I am trying to make all these videos and my daily social media videos and my 3 YouTube videos a week. I also had a huge unexpected thing go on at one of my rental units, and then something that should have taken a month, I renovated a whole apartment in 2 weeks, although with as bad as it was because the tenant destroyed it, it should have taken a month, and there was so much going into that, and my mom had surgery, and I think in one of these videos I talked about it, but I was able to do all of that, and now I have another tenant leaving in another unit, and I have to start working on that, and I got to go do some stuff for my mom. And the beginning of this week I was running for my dad, and part of the reason I wanted to be able to work for myself was to be able to be there for my family and help them with things. Because, my mom always got to help the mom, and my dad is the hardest working man I'll ever know, between 60 hours a week at work that takes him 45 minutes to get there, and then running a farm, and he has 2 young kids, and he doesn't really have anybody to help him, and I always wanted to have the ability to be able to stop and adjust and do what I need to do at a different time to be able to be there for the people that mean something to me. So I created this life and these businesses to be able to do all that I'm doing at once. And in order to do that, to be able to be there for my mom and my dad and my grandmother and be there for my clients and take my clients, but also still have properties and have a spiritual business and then have a really needy cat and then have any sort of like my own life and time to do anything that I may want to do, I have to have self-discipline and self-control and self-regulation. And I don't think it's talked enough about, the beginning of this journey when you have to have the self-compassion and self-care and the aspect of being gentle with yourself is talked about and pushed so much. And it's 100% innately, completely true. But after you give yourself some time in that place, you need to reel yourself back in and really get back to the disciplined adult version of you. It's done in a different way. It's done for you, not for societal or job or familial expectations. It's done for different reasons and in different ways. But self-control and self-discipline is an absolute must, and we need to not atrophy our self-control and our self-discipline by not engaging in it at all. I did it. Everybody else I talked to, after we talked about it, we realized they were doing that too. They were so overwhelmed and so upset because they were giving away their self-control. They were allowing everything that happened to them affect them on such a deep level. They were allowing every situation to upset them, every person to upset them, and we got to use that self-control and self-discipline that it's up to us what we allow to affect us. It's up to us how we regulate our time and what we do and how much effort we put into one thing when we want to do it. And that's the thing, and that's the thing about me. Now, I might do nothing for a day, but then I know the next day I'm going to have to do 3 days worth of stuff. That's completely up to me. I can do a day and a half worth of stuff and a day and a half worth of stuff here. I can do nothing here and 3 days worth of stuff here. It doesn't really matter how I do it as long as I'm doing it and doing what's right for me. And that's how the discipline and the self-discipline and the self-control kind of alter when we're doing it for ourselves in the way that's best for us, not for outside sources, not to appease them. But it still is necessary. We don't completely let go of the discipline or the self-control. We alter how we're doing it and the way we're doing it, and we'll make sure we're doing it for us. But it is still necessary and not something to just completely throw out the window. So I don't know if I never know with these chats if my foot's falling asleep. I think that happens in most of them too. I never know with these chats if I ever explain anything correctly or if I just babble on and it works out. I never know. But essentially, if you're in the stage of your awakening or your dark night of the soul, yes, give yourself the time, the space, the compassion to feel things out. If you feel like you're coming out of that place and you're ready to move on to the next stage in your journey and you're aware that you are on a journey, now would be the time to start the balance between feeling and being in control. Now would be the time to start the balance between being and doing. And that is how we don't do what I did and go too far with it and have no self-control and no discipline and not show up on time to anything and become an even chubbier cat and, do all those things because you're just letting yourself go too much. We got to let ourselves go a little bit, but then we're just going to cause ourselves more work if we let ourselves go too much without any self-control and self-discipline. Because then we're just going to have to work even harder to reel ourselves back in. So it's a balancing act, and I think it's one that not enough of the spiritual community talk about. Because we definitely have to go through that compassion and give ourselves compassion. We definitely have to get out of the vortex of self-control and discipline for other people. But we need it for ourselves, and we need it to be able to make our dreams and goals and desires happen. So, I don't know. If you have any questions or thoughts or concerns about any of that, reach out, let me know. Make a comment below. Let me know what you think. Let me know if there's anything else you want me to babble about. Maybe I should stop calling these chats and I should start calling them Heather Just Babbles for 20 minutes and hopes to make a point. Seems aptly named, although long. Alright guys, until our next chat, I love you and I will see you next time.